Names changed for confidentiality. I apologize for my grammar in advance. English is not my native language. Before getting to cheating story, I must clarify what I meant by suffered from females. My mother tried to kill me twice, repeatedly, hit me with some electric cord, leaving dozens of scars on my back, and emotionally abused me for years. I still didn't recover from this. My older sister groomed, molested, and raped me for 4 years, 11 years of my age. She stopped when I told my classmate about it, but she didn't face repercussions. And my grandma, with whom I lived for 12 years, 6 of which exclusively with her, because I needed to finish school and college while my mom and sister moved to a larger city to work there. I rarely spoke to my mom in that time, not that I wanted to. When I was 16, this grandma told me that we need to move to a rented apartment because her loan contract was turned into selling one to a person that dragged her into some scam shenanigans and, despite being experienced accountant in the past, didn't ask for her copy. So we lost our house, and this grandma is still on their hook, even after 11 years. What about my father? He committed suicide when I was 8, added this part here a bit later. So I guess this is enough for a single person. Some of my friends were amazed how I still find women attractive. It's because despite that, I had few good girlfriends and couple of female teachers to look up to. One of those girls even blatantly asked me out, but with my self-esteem being in the sewers at that time, my dumbass still thought good joke mark, and blew it up. And plenty of others showed interest in me, but I didn't thought of it that much. So, into affair stuff. This girl wasn't my first partner. I broke up with actual first after around 1.5 months of being together because she had Chinese military parade amount of red flags. This one, Ruby, was second one, and also had them, albeit less. Not by a large margin, as it turns out. She also knew about all this stuff I wrote earlier in the post. She's the first person I ever told that. We dated for a little over a year, and moved in together when she met Chris. Yes, I know him. Moreover, we share the same name. Chris, much like Ruby, was in her college and obsessed with minks. Ruby had one in the past that tragically passed away and was immortalized on her shoulder. Chris had 3 of them, alive but not for long, thanks to neglect of his GF at that time and some poisoning. They quickly became friends, especially thanks to Ruby being a social butterfly. We met in person with Chris and also found mutual interest in shooting. He even recommended good shooting range where I could practice my archery. But that was our only interaction. We were standing in the bus. I tried to hug Ruby to show affection and give her something stable to hold on to, but she dodged it, took her friend and occupied seats nearby. When we returned home, I asked her what was that about. She told that was because of her slight panic because of car accident in her childhood. She told about it even before moving in, so I believed her, but still felt unease. Later, I found that he was giving her presents. I was cool with Ruby having guy friends. I knew almost all of them. And at first, these presents were a little treats to a starving person. But then they was related to her another obsession, Genshin. I pointed out that he's good with picking gifts. But then, when we were loafing around on a couch, I caught a glimpse of one particular message from Chris. "Can I lay down next to you?" This made me very uncomfortable. She knew that I was not okay with her occasional flirting with her friends. She was doing it with both genders, and not stating clearly that she was with me when someone was flirting with her. I told her that this behavior from Chris is not okay. She agreed, and she told that she will distance herself from him and cut their interactions. I felt somewhat relieved, but Spidey senses was tingling a bit. All was good for a couple of months, until she slipped up that she was actually interacting with Chris. I pretended that I didn't heard that, but later snooped on her phone. Turns out she was studying with him for almost a month, and after our recent fight, she asked if she can come over to play with his minks. I confronted her about these study sessions without mentioning texts I saw. She said that she didn't want me to get upset, and Chris was a year senior to her, which is true, and excelled in one discipline in which she lacked at second part is true, unsure about first. And he needed emotional support because of his abusive GF. I felt extremely uncomfortable. She apologized and promised to do better. Later, I came home early due to health issues, when she barged in and was surprised to see me there. I told that I felt. She wanted to go on a walk with Chris. I begrudgingly said okay, but asked her to return when rain will start. She agreed and left. It was late October, so rain didn't take long to start. She didn't return. not even when it turned to a downpour. She didn't return for a whole 2 hours. I was pissed. When she returned, I confronted Ruby about it. She got extremely defensive. I made an ultimatum. It's either him or me. She chose me but left to her parents' house to cool off. She wasn't lying about that. She stayed there for a week, after which I called her for a serious talk. We met, and our conversation basically went down to me not trusting her anymore, and that she needed to be honest with me. First step of which was giving me full access to her social media accounts. She accepted in a heartbeat, but later I didn't bother to look there, since I suspected that she deleted compromising stuff. Then I made a post in AITA subreddit, where everyone said that I wrong for not leaving her. I felt the same, and this was confirmation. Ruby was being extra attention-five and affectionate after that talk, but I felt repulsed by her. Shortly after I spilled the beans, saying that we can't go on like this and need to break up. She cried, tried to plead to reconsider, but realizes that it was pointless. She asked her brother to help her moving out, so our last awkward interaction was shortened to a couple of days. I also packed up her gifts to me, because I wanted to move on ASAP. Her brother later called me, saying that they got home safe, but Ruby was crying whole time. She tried to call me quite a few times, but went to voicemail. Until sometime later, she asked me to meet up so she can be completely honest with me. For closure. But I didn't need this anymore. Chris drunkenly confessed to a mutual friend that Ruby jerked him off to help him cope with his abusive GF. While knowing about Ruby, being my GF at the time, I didn't want to injure myself anymore. I wanted to tell her what I knew and call her all sorts of names, but silence in this case would be louder. Deafening loud. Later, after D&D session, Arianna, her best friend, pointed out that my character was good and had some of my traits. I asked her to clarify, and she told me about his traumas, and knowing my story, she can see where they were coming from. She met my sister. I asked where she did learn this and how much she knew. Turns out Ruby told her my woes, bit by bit. She felt very guilty afterwards and asked not to tell anyone about this, especially me. But since Arianna knew about our breakup, she thought I didn't mind her remark. I was pissed and disgusted, so asked her to tell Ruby that she doesn't exist for me anymore. And that led Arianna for her support during this hard time. She was emotionally supporting me since our breakup, without knowing full reason behind it. At least, until that moment. Few months passed, I gave up on searching for a GF and took multiple STD tests. I was clear, and concentrated on my passions. When I was going to Hema Club, I met an interesting individual. Let's call her Jess. Jess is Hema nerd that loved LOTR and Pathfinder. I thought we could connect, due to me being experienced TTRPG player and also loving Pathfinder after I played Owlcat games. And she would love my Aragorn Strider cosplay. But this redhead firecracker had another idea. Coaches said that I was natural with blades, especially Montante and Saber, and Jess decided that I'll be her rival. We both were noobs there. Jess came there a month earlier than me. She was pissed that she couldn't beat me neither in duel because of height advantage, albeit not that big 9 to 10 centimeter difference, nor in DBD. She hated both my jump scare Myers and Pyramid Head. Yeah, she's that one knee main, especially because On didn't mind losing, as long as I had fun and scared pissed her off. And I thought also hated me as person, but I started to see cheeky grins of other club members. One day, our club went out for a drinks to celebrate Founder's birthday in his house. We had a bit, or not too much, especially because Jess challenged me to a drink out, like a freaking dwarf. She even tried to make their accent. I accepted, and after 1 or 2 rum bottles, we now writing from club members' words, we started to wrestle. I pinned her down, we stared a bit, then started to kiss. If this mutual face devouring could be called a kiss, they urged us to go upstairs and it to do it here, so we did. We woke up both tired, exhausted, messed up, and in dire need of water. Thanks to them, we had a couple of bottles nearby. Then we both realized that we are naked. And our clothes scattered everywhere, even my underwear somehow flew on a window curtain. We both agreed not to talk about it, but started to talk more, and bond a little. Even decided to try to make cosplay of our Pathfinder chars. Week ago. Jess admitted to liking me, but I still didn't recover from Ruby. She understood, and we decided to take things slowly. Our rivalry remained the same, but it's more like love-hate relationship now. Funnily enough, club members were betting on us, whether we will start dating or not. Or hook up. Theo won if these bettors even took me to bar yesterday because he wanted to share his prize money and celebrate us. I'm not sure what he meant by that, but we had a great time. What about Ruby and Chris? They tried dating not long after our breakup, but she couldn't handle his worsening alcoholism and bills for treating last surviving mink, so she broke up with him shortly after. That's all I know about her, and I'd like to keep it that way. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.